Well, here we are putting the roof on finally. Now I've got this piece on, so I'm just going to lift this off a second. What I did is I used foam core to cut my patterns to make sure that everything was correct. Now, I had to do it 4 times because I kept messing up the angles somehow. I don't know how, but I did. So don't get frustrated if you're doing a scratch build, and use lots of either poster board or foam core, because it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. So I cut my patterns and I wrote my measurements on the pattern, made sure they fit. I did the same with the front half of the roof, because remember, my building is sitting on an angle relative to my backdrop. So I do have some angles to cut. And I thought it would be easier to do one pitch at a time. And then I'm going to have to figure out how to do a roof cap. So I have some ideas, but probably what I'm going to do is cut some aluminum in a strip and then just bend it to match that 412 pitch that I put on the roof. Okay, so here is the back section of the roof, and what I did, this is some simulated corrugated asbestos roofing material. This is the brand. It's called Will's Kits, and it's corrugated asbestos, not a toy. Okay, so that's what I'm using. This is made by Pico, as you can see on the bottom. So it's good for either double O or HO, depending on where you live and what you model. I took the pieces and glued them together, and I had to have an extra narrow piece at the end because I've got about 25 inches, because the 2 pieces together equaled 24, or 3 sections rather together equaled 24 inches. So that narrow piece made up the additional. And all I did was on the back, I mounted it on some 30 thousandths plastic and used some strips to put the pieces together. So that's all I did. And then I took it out. I actually made the narrow cut on my table saw. It was, I'm sorry, it's a miter saw. And it did a great job. I just couldn't do the long one. So what I did, believe it or not, with the long one, I cut it as close as I could with scissors. And then I took it to my belt sander and sanded it smooth to be the angle that I needed to. So that's how I did that. So as you can see, it fits perfectly, just exactly like I wanted it to fit. And now I have to do the front section of the roof. I have all the pieces together now. They're drying. So what I'm going to do is, once it's dry, go ahead and cut it, and then we'll come back and take a look at that. So now I'm making the ridge cap for the roof of the building. There's nobody really makes a 412 pitch ridge cap in HO scale. So this is what I came up with. I hope it works. I've got a brass strip here that I cut, and this is very thin brass. It's about 5/10 thousandths. So what I've done is I folded it in half across the edge of my tray here and tried to smooth it out as much as possible. And then I'm taking it, let me just try to smooth it out a little bit more. You can see I had to epoxy 2 pieces together, but that won't matter once it's painted, because it had to be almost 8 inches, and they only make these in 6-inch strips. So, well, I'm sure they make them longer, but that's all I could find. So now that I've done that, what I'm going to do, I figured since the bend is enough, I can flatten it back out, and that'll give me a good pitch for my roof. So hang on, let me flatten it out and let's see what happens. Okay, so I just flattened it out is all I did. Because I had bent it in half, that gave me a little sharp angle up here to work with, and I think flattening it out as much as I could just put it about a nice angle for a 412 pitch roof. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first epoxy the first side down, let it dry real well, and then I'm going to come back after it's dry and epoxy this side to the other half of the roof. Okay, so stay tuned and we'll see what happens. Here's the completed roof. I have my brass strip now glued down, epoxied down. So all I need to do now is take it outside and spray it. So what I've decided to spray it with is some epoxy paint that you would use for appliances. I tried it on a scrap piece of this and it seemed to work real well, and it's the color that I want. That's the most important thing. So it's the color that I want, and once I do it, then I'm going to spray it with a flat coat so it flats it. But it was the right color. So I'm gonna go and spray this, and then once I do that, we'll be back. Here's the completed roof. You'll notice that underside is painted black, and that's because I'm going to light the building. And I have spray painted the roof the color I want. The color was actually, I think I mentioned this before, but it was epoxy appliance paint, so which is an enamel paint. And I got the stainless steel because that gave me a nice gray color. And then what I did is I took a few washes. I took a dark gray wash and an earth brown wash, and then also an oiled earth. So here's the oiled earth. Here's the European dust. That's what it was. And then I made my own dark gray wash. And I just went and streaked it. So this is not a metal roof. This is an asbestos, corrugated asbestos roof. So there's really no metal to it except the bolts holding it on. That's why you won't see really any rust, on this roof. So, and it came out just almost exactly. So once I painted it the appliance color, that stainless steel, I actually streaked it with the washes, and hopefully you can see the streaking effect. And then I did a dull coat over it. So now it's got a protected dull coat. Luckily we've had a couple days that although they've been cool, have been nice and sunny, so the paint dried fairly well. And then of course the ridge cap that I made is just came out the solid color. So there it is. The roof is finished. So in the next episode, what we'll be doing are putting some details on the building and also lighting it. So stay tuned for that.